Okay, so today we're going to be working on my latest maternity gallery that I shot. It's gorgeous. It's like super neutral and natural colors. It's like my favorite maternity shoot to date. So I'm like pretty excited to show you guys my process of editing with it. All right, let's get into the editing. Okay, so you can see here that, some of the shots are already edited. That's because I've already posted a sneak peek on Instagram before filming this. So there are a couple of images throughout that are already fully edited. So we're just gonna skip over those. So this is the first one, fully edited. And then this one is like the unedited version. It only has a preset applied, and there's a fully edited one, and here's the before. And now I've opened these 4 images in Photoshop, so we're gonna get started on those. Okay, so as you can see, she kind of has some lines on her stomach from her compression leggings that she wore to the session. Stuff like this happens like all the time, which is why I have lots of editing tools that I can use to fix things like this. So I use Lemon Sky Photography, and I use the Maternity Retouch Action Kit. So this action kit has a variety of different stuff. Right now I'm going to use the Stretch Mark Blemish Calm Paint. So what that's going to do is it's going to smooth her belly out and allow me to change the opacity so that it can look as natural as possible. So I don't want her skin to look so smooth that it looks fake or that it looks like plastic. I'll show you what I mean. So what I'm going to do, that action is loaded now, so I'm going to paint it on her stomach. And you can see that's already having like a huge effect of like removing those marks. She wants to remember like her body like as it is. She wants it to be very natural, minimal editing, which is why like I love actions like this where you can adjust like how intense the effect is. That's what adjusting the opacity does, so that you don't lose too much texture, because I like how you can see all like the little hairs. I like how like natural that looks, so I don't want to smooth it out too much. So you can see now that looks super fake, like very blurred and plasticky, which is why we'll land on somewhere down here. And then I'll use the same action like on her legs. What that'll do is any like modeling there is to the skin, which is something that can happen with some women. It just smooths that right out so it doesn't look all blotchy. So that's her belly. And then what we're gonna do is let's flatten it. And then we're gonna save it to Lightroom. And you'll see once you've saved it, it'll show up in here. And you can see the before and after. Just helps with the skin quite a bit. Okay, let's move on to the next one. And we'll run the same action again. The Stretch Mark Blemish Calm one. Here we go. And we'll do the same thing here. And try to stay away from like edges and like details of things, because if you're brushing this over like the edges, it will get this like hazy kind of look to it that looks fake. And if you're like brushing over the belly button, it has like that same kind of effect where it takes away the detail and it makes it just like look not good. So just try to avoid any edges or details when you're doing images like this. I can see like the crease of like the backdrop at the top here, so I'm just gonna crop that down and try to center it. That looks really good. The backdrop looks really smooth. There's nothing, because it's like a compressed zoomed in shot, so I won't need to do any backdrop fixing for this one, but I will do my finishing touch, which is just like a little exposure adjustment I do in the levels. So you can see if I turn off this adjustment, it almost looks a little bit muddy, like a little grayed out. This happens sometimes if you don't have the perfect exposure, which I often don't, because I want to preserve detail in the highlights. I don't want to blow them out. So typically I will underexpose a little bit and fix in post to make sure that there's still tons of detail here. It makes it look the most natural and the best dynamic range. That's all done, so I'm going to save that one. Okay, same thing for this one. We'll do the stretch mark blemish comb. I think the tilt is off a little bit. So I just want to like level her shoulders a little bit. That's better. Okay, and now I'll paint on. There we go. You can see the difference here before, after. And I think I'm just gonna bump it down just a tad. Okay, now that the skin smoothing's done, I'm going to do my finishing touch. Before, after. Okay, next image. This one also has the belly thing that I need to fix. The belly compression lines. So we'll run this action. There. Fix that all up. There we go. And final touch. Now they're all in Lightroom, so we'll move on to the next setup. We did several different setups. We did the bra with like bra and underwear with like the nice robe from Belly Baby Wear, the nice white lace long sleeve one. So that was our first setup, and then the next setup that we did was just bra and underwear, and that's the next part we're gonna work on. Also, I'm gonna download Spotify now because I don't have Spotify on this computer, and I need some kind of musical stimulation while I'm working. So I got my AirPod in, so I'm gonna download that now. Okay, so they opened up in Photoshop, and let's keep going. So I'm gonna fix the skin on her belly and her legs once again. There we go, now it's run. Sometimes it takes the actions like a while to load. Like, I'm kind of surprised at how quickly this 2015 iMac is running this stuff. Tim and I were both expecting it to go a lot slower, but it's going pretty well. I'll just turn this down to like 52. flatten that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the select tool, where I'll find like a blank area, and then I'll do edit, transform, distort, and just take the center and drag it to the top of the frame. And what that does is it fills in that area with like kind of the same shading like that it naturally is. The only thing is when you zoom in here where you've stretched it, you can see that it's much more pixelated compared to the area below. So I have like a couple of actions that can help with this. So the action that I love to use is called the sorcery sauce. So I will use the zero banding option because this is the one that's best for stuff like the pixelated areas. It just smooths everything out, makes it all look even. You'll see the effect once it's done. This is why I need the music while I'm waiting for these things to load. So something weird happened in the corner here. Not really sure why it did that. So what I can do is I can do filter, liquefy. So we'll see how it looks once I do this. So I'll make like a big brush like this, and I'll just center it over the area, and I'll just drag it off the screen. So that fixes that. So now her skin's perfectly smooth, the backdrop's perfectly smooth. She looks super good, super natural. She did her own hair and makeup due to restrictions, so I'm impressed with her look. And the last thing that I'll do is my final touch. So I'll come over to levels and I'll move this over. There we go. Okay, then we'll save this. There, crop that down. This was the first shoot that I used, the Canon R5. So all these images so far have been on the Canon R5. You can see that like the tip of her nose is out of focus, but you can see like the skin right here on her cheek and her hair are in focus. It looks like her eyes were just missed focus, like they're not out of focus, but they're not perfectly sharp. So what you can do, if you really want her eyes to be sharp, you can do like a sharpen action. I'm going to use the Smart Sharpen brush in the maternity thing. So you can see that like instantly makes her eyes sharp. So like it's a little over sharpened there. So I'm just going to turn the opacity down until it's somewhere that looks, and I'll zoom back out. So I really like the message that she wanted to get across with this shoot. She wanted to tell the story of her body and like document its changes authentically. So she doesn't want a ton of editing done to it. So I'm really trying to keep it like the most minimal that I can. So we'll do a little bit of belly smoothing on this one as well. Yeah. Here we go. Her skin is all painted. I will run the sorcery sauce just to see what effect it has. If it makes the bokeh look better, if it smooths it out a bit. So before, yeah, it looks good. There, that one's done. So I kind of like to do kind of 3 different types of like posing. So she'll either be looking straight ahead or like a little bit, like her head lift a little bit up, or looking down at one of her shoulders, or looking down at her bump. So those are kind of the 3 types of poses you'll see like throughout this gallery. It just adds variety and like different kinds of angles to the face. I like to cycle between those three things. All right, so this one, I'm going to want to extend the backdrop. So something that I'll do for the top is I showed you this earlier, is I'll take this and I will transform it. There. And then within the sorcery sauce, so this is one of the actions that I adore and use, they have this brush and go option. So what this does is you paint on the image where you want to fill the backdrop. So step one, paint where you want to fill, and then you play the action. And then you paint on. I'll use like a big brush. Paint there, and we'll paint over here too. There. And then you go back to the action and go to step 2, and then you run that. It's sorcery. Just you wait. Here we go. So it fills out the sides. So this side doesn't look perfect. There's like, it's like dark here and then a streak of light there, and then it's the shadow. I'm really picky, so that's not gonna fly for me. So I'll do the mask creator tight and I'll do some painting. So what I'll do is then I'll click on like this, the masking layer, the grid over here, and I'll take my brush and I'll turn the flow down to like 19. And then I'll select the color that I want to bring out. I'll just brush it over like the dark areas. What this does is it just takes away those intense shadows. So what I'm going to need to do after doing that is, because like the brush is so big, it leaves behind little traces that almost look like banding. So I'll have to run the background fix zero banding after using a brush like that. Now that that's done, the backdrop is fixed. Now I'll paint her belly. But yeah, as I was saying earlier, I think it's really amazing that, because I don't get it that often where someone is so confident in themselves that they just want minimal editing, they want their body to be shown as is. There's so many pregnant women that want to cover up. They want to cover up their arms. They want their arms slimmed down. They want their double chin tucked. Like, they want lots of things that they're insecure about changed. So it was really refreshing to have someone like her who just appreciated everything about her body and wanted to remember it. Okay, now the final touch. It's right there. Okay, well that one's saving. We're gonna get started on this one. So this one, she's looking back over her shoulder. So yeah, it was my first time using the Canon R5 and looking at all the colors and just how it's rendering and the detail. I'm super impressed. See, like that look, it still preserves like the details in her belly. Like you can still see, you know, you don't notice the the lines from her compression leggings so much. That's like the main challenge around these belly shots. Okay, so her skin's all smoothed. Now I just boost it a little bit. Do the final touch. And that's ready to go be saved back to Lightroom. Okay, so this one, I'm gonna do the fun trick. I love it. Okay, so edit, transform, distort. Here we go. And then we'll run the sorcery sauce. Zero banding. But yeah, so I don't edit like every single image from scratch. I have purchased tools that help me to make my process more seamless and less time consuming. So I love actions. Like, I have so many different sets, and you know, they're not all loaded into my Photoshop on this computer right now, but I have lots. Okay, so that's pretty much good for the backdrop. Now I'm gonna do her belly, smooth that out. And you can see I'm doing like absolutely nothing to change like the shape of her body and how that looked. Just doing some very minimal skin smoothing. So just gonna do the final touch on this one, and then it's all done. This is like the most satisfying part, to see like how good it looks boosted. I'm gonna smooth her skin on her face just a little bit because it's a little bit more noticeable in this image. Her face is really sharp, so there we go. This is the before, after. And you know what? We're going to liquefy here. Okay, just gonna push that up right here. There we go. Now we're gonna save that one. Making some good progress through these. Okay, gonna do just the littlest bit of skin smoothing on this image because the indents in her skin aren't as visible here. So yeah, literally just gonna paint that. Her eyes are super sharp. There, that looks super good. We can always go back and look what it looked like on import. And after editing. Save that one. So that looks good. And now I'm gonna do the skin smoothing on her belly. You can see as time goes on, so as the shoot progresses, like it gets less noticeable. So maybe I should have really started with the closed images. That would have saved me like quite a bit of time with my editing for this, but now you guys get to watch me edit it, so not too mad about it. I'm just gonna remove her blemish here. Oh, I need to do the final touch. And then we can save it. This one's nice. gonna smooth her legs out and her belly. I really love this maternity retouching action pack from LSP. It just, they're great. They're perfect. Okay, so that looks done to me. I'm just gonna get her blemish here. This one is already done, so I'm gonna just close it and save it. Oh, this one's so cute. Okay, so I'm just gonna crop it down just a teeny bit. There we go. Now I'm gonna use that painting to fill for the sides. Okay, this looks poopy. This like green tinge thing, so I'm gonna do the mask creator step just to fix the color. So mask creator tight, and I'm gonna click on the grid, and we're just gonna color with a bit of a nicer color. You can almost see as I'm coloring with this, the banding. You can really see it when you zoom out. There's like lines. So the sorcery sauce is gonna fix that as well. So we're just gonna paint. This nice. And if we make like a bigger brush, it can help with that gradient line. Just gives it like a nice fade. Okay, and then we want to flatten this, and we want to go to the background, fix zero banding once again. Before, after, it just deletes the banding. So there's the before and the after right now. And then we're gonna flatten it and boost it. Here we go. I don't think I'm gonna do any skin smoothing on her legs and belly. Now that that banding is gone, we can kind of go all natural from there. I love how the light hits her face on this one, and her gaze, and just like the shape of her belly and her pose. This is a really nice image. Okay, this is also striking. Like, look at her gaze and how sharp her eyes are. You can see the light, the reflection of my light in her eye. And for this one, we'll go back to the sorcery sauce again, and we'll do the painting. I should do like a full review on the sorcery sauce. Okay, so it's on paint where you want to fill. It's basically like you're telling it to like, okay, erase this part. This part I want to become part of the backdrop. I'm gonna go a little further over just to see if I can try to avoid having to color too much. And now I'm gonna do step 2. It's always kind of like a hit or miss with, you know, the paint where you want to fill. It's always a hit or miss, like whether it will look good and you won't have to do any color fixing. Well, okay. Definitely gonna have to do some coloring. That's fine. Okay. So let's flatten this. And let's create a mask. And let's paint on. That's a good fade. And then we'll flatten that and we'll do zero banding. I'm telling you, Matute Morales, that's the guy who created and designed the sorcery sauce. He is just a genius. I don't understand how all this works, but it makes my life easier. So I'm grateful. That looks gorgeous. Yeah, these ones I'm gonna like not smooth her legs because she asked for in some that the varicose veins be like visible. She wants to document that too. It's all done. Love this image, it's striking. So for my lighting for maternity, I'll actually show you. I use this light. It's the light I'm using. It's an Aperture 120D with a large softbox. I don't know what the exact size of the softbox is, but it's a good size. And I have it mounted to the wall. So I'll put it at a 45-degree angle and like slightly above the client. So it's like to like the front of them and above. And you can see in that, I'll actually show you in this image. In this image, you can see that the light is in the top left corner of her eye, which means that the lighting is like perfectly positioned to fall flatteringly on her face. Pretty proud of myself for that. Okay, so for this one, let's extend it a little bit. I love these more like cropped in shots where like all the background extending and stuff like that. You don't have to do it. It's just like simple fixes like this. I think I'm gonna crop down just a tad, or maybe even change the ratio to 4:5. Yeah, that's better. I guess I could have just cropped then. I didn't really need to extend it. Okay, so this one we'll run zero banding. Here we go. So this is a very simple maternity gallery. Like quite literally, like the style of it is super simple and the editing is really simple. Like I'm not having to do like a ton, but it's just gorgeous. Like in my real life, like I love organized and I love minimal. So this kind of shoot just like really speaks to my style. I really like this one too. I'm just gonna boost it right away. You know what? I'm just gonna do a teeny little bit of skin smoothing on her belly here because this one's a bit more close up and starting to see those pant marks again. I just want to make sure to get that nice and smooth for her. And then we'll turn the opacity down quite a bit. That's perfect. It's very subtle. So you can see with the before and after. And I'm gonna do the legs as well. That's done. We're making good progress in this gallery. Hi guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I ran out of time on the day that I was recording this to record an outro, so here I am. It's a different day. I'm very grateful that you guys are interested in watching my workflow for maternity images. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more videos and more content like this. Thank you so much, and see you next time.